Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie video, taken from the HFY subreddit called There Are a Lot of Stones on Terra, written by Anaconda69. The link to the original will be down below, and, as always, I hope that you enjoy. A man stumbled through the barren field. His dirty hands flailed about. Bloodshot eyes stared fixedly at the sky. It was 3 in the morning, but the sky was awash with light. A vast bombardment fleet on high geostationary had run out of targets and began preparing to drop cleanup troops. It had been 4 weeks since the combined fleet of 100 species blanketed Earth with kinetics in a joint effort to eradicate mankind. Only some people remained, maybe a few thousand, give or take. Of those who were left, most had gone insane. Who could watch their kind die and not lose it? Like this man, he snatched a stone from the ground. With a cry, he cast it towards the lights in the sky, as if he wanted to hit one of the myriad of warships in orbit. The stone flew high and a few seconds later returned to the ground with a dull thud. No ship acknowledged the tiny man. His defiance went unnoticed. Humanity was on its knees. Our once mighty military had been broken and humbled. Our extraterrestrial colonies, the 9 jewels of Terra, reduced to cold graves for a billion souls. The enemy spared no one in their indignation. To them we were abominations. A host of magically attuned species lived in harmony for centuries when humanity was discovered. A species not only without any kind of magic affinity, but also the resistance to its effects. Their seers failed to read our futures, and their mind-benders failed to enslave us. To an ancient hegemony of wizard kings who mind-controlled entire species, this was an insult and a threat. Once hostilities began, it was clear that this would be a war unlike any other. We had a powerful army, a fleet to carry it around, and an economy to supply it. Our enemy was used to psychic warfare, battle mages killing warriors with thought, mind-benders turning brothers in arm against each other, bio-engineered beasts controlled with but a thought. All of this trickery meant little in the battle with the armies of man. We had an edge in military technology, training, robust physiology, and an innate soldier skill. The first engagements went well, and our generals were hopeful. A few months into the war, it became clear how outmatched we were. We faced an economy orders of a magnitude larger than our own, plus a virtually unlimited supply of manpower. To make things worse, our enemies were not stupid either. Their war doctrine adapted, their technology raced to match our own. Their tactics improved. 1 year later, we lost the first colony. It was then that we realized that we simply could not win. Our enemies kept growing stronger, while our strength already spent. Supply lines were broken, reinforcements intercepted, and humanity found itself in a species-wide fight for survival. Some fled, most stayed, to fight like the cornered beast, using the last of its strength to pounce at the hunter, to savage his dogs, to roar. I still remember taking part in the pursuit of the celestial fleet of Ganaha by the remnant Sapphire home fleet. The Ganaha launched a surprise virus bomb attack that poisoned the Sapphire's global ocean, killing hundreds of millions. The home fleet that failed to prevent the attack went after the enemy fleet, a force 3 times the human fleet size. I was on the UTS Zenith, a strike cruiser when it rammed the alien flagship supercarrier Star of Zoma. I was captain of the guard at the time. I remember leading my men, resplendent in the black war suits, going to certain death. Staring straight into the heart of the alien flagship, we butchered our way through thousands of elite Ganaha warriors, all in the attempt to reach the arrogant ruler of the Ganaha, the High King Klessa. Only a handful of my soldiers lived through the boarding action, yet it fills me with grim resolve to know that Klessa's shattered skull still sits on my shelf in the Emperor's vault. I remember when the Emerald fell, the 3rd jewel of Terra. I was there on the main starport watching the armies of more than 40 species make planetfall. Their orbital bombardment was minimal, Alien scum wanted a garden world for themselves, and we made them pay for their folly with blood. It took a week of constant reinforcements before we were forced to retreat on civilian ships, leaving Emerald in its bloody fate. The paradise would soon be lost thanks to the planet-eater virus that we'd released as we left. I admit, we had our own share of atrocities. When Ruby, our oldest colony, came under attack, its population voted to give up the fight. When alien warships blotted out the sun, Ruby's home fleet was nowhere to be seen. Instead of defending the planet, Home Fleet Ruby used infiltrators to hack the invading alien fleet's warp relay. In a brief confusion that followed, Home Fleet Ruby slipped past the planetary blockade and went into hyperspace. As Ruby died in a nuclear flame, its fleet arrived next homeworld of Coral, one of the many races that stood against humanity. What occurred there, nobody knows, but no Coral has been ever seen since. Many sacrifices were made, but it couldn't change the end result. It came to siege of Terra. Humanity's last stand or orbital stations fell from the skies like mountains of fire. Our space lifts were brought down and collapsed into the sea. Nuclear fire reduced cities to rubble, flattened millennia of heritage, and turned the entire populations to dust. Some were so overcome with hate and despair that they went mad and ran into the fields, throwing rocks and profanities at the blinking lights in the sky. They had to watch, but they could do nothing. Who did not envy their escape into lunacy? Lunacy can sometimes provide a new perspective. Our war with the aliens taught us many strange things about the nature of the universe. One was clear from the start. Magic was not only real but widespread. All species were innately magical, though most possess only minimal ability. Another discovery: each alien race we fought worshipped some sort of divine leader, a mystical source of their magic. From what we learned, those ancient spirits truly existed, and wield incomprehensible power. It's no surprise that those mighty beings tend to rule the planet's inhabitants as self-declared gods. We learned of many gods and our enemies. Soon we started asking, where is Terra's spirit? Humanity was so desperate, it'd go into a pact with the devil himself just to spit in the faces of the enemies one last time. Our supreme leader, Emperor Dalian, became obsessed with the idea. While humanity's final battle raged around Luna, he spent his days and nights poring over moldy grimoires, reading from animal entrails and conversing with mediums. Through forgotten occult and hideous sacrifice, Dalian managed to stir a presence, a being shackled in the depths of our planet. The soul of Terra awakened and promptly took control of Dalian's body. Talking through his mouth, it introduced itself as the Black Sun. Can you imagine? It was just like us, bitter and hateful. It offered humanity a pact. It would grant us, a non-magical species, a portion of its own power. The blessing of Babylon. In exchange, we were to carry its fury into the stars, to murder every species we came across and execute their gods. Those were intense times. We accepted, and then we gave it our true names, sealing the pact forever. Later that day, another man made of grief went into a field and screamed defiance at the sky. He spat and cursed at the invaders, waving his clenched fist. But when he threw a stone, one light disappeared from the sky. He threw a second stone, and a moment later another light was gone. And then the man smiled because he realized there are a lot of stones on Terra. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways to do so, listed in the description down below. The easiest and best way would be to share this video and my channel as much as possible. I'll see you all in the next video, and I hope that you have a good one until then. Cheers.